Hi, I'm Scott Kim, educational game designer and co-founder of Game Thinking Corp. Now, like many of you, I've found the last few weeks very stressful. So to do something constructive and help manage my own anxiety, I decided to try out the app called Calm. Calm is a very successful meditation app made by my game design colleague and friend, Michael Acton-Smith. Now, I had tried Headspace, their main competitor, so I was really curious to try Calm and see how the experience compared. And I used the Mastery Path Teardown format to help me understand the stages of the experience. Here's what I found. When I first heard about Calm, I was curious about it, but it took a little bit of energy to actually try it. They have a very strong social media presence. Even if you haven't seen it, you've probably heard of it. My healthcare provider, Kaiser Permanente, made it free to their members. Of course, free is good, but it was also a good recommendation. If they believed in it, then I would try it. Now, here's what happened when I actually signed up. I got a welcome from Kaiser saying, congratulations, and to open the Calm app. It is an app on your phone, but I was on my computer, so it opened directly on my computer. And much to my surprise, it went straight into the full desktop app. I had been a user of Headspace, so I thought there was going to be very careful onboarding. Headspace has very well-crafted onboarding that takes you step by step to understand what the features are and how to use it. Here I was pretty much just confronted with the app. But then I noticed the app organization was very clear. Overall, it has the mental model of Netflix. There's a series of categories: sleep, meditation, music, and each of those has a playlist of items you can play. I understood that immediately. It has very attractive content. It looks nice, of course. LeBron James doing a Train Your Mind session, that really caught my eye. And it's very clear what to do first because there's a daily meditation right at the top. So I started there. So I explored and found that there was a rich variety of content that was clearly designed to meet common habits and needs, like going to sleep. And once I clicked on one of these, here's clicking on a bedtime story, I found a very familiar interface, a media player, and this is Laura Dern, who has a gorgeous voice, reading you a story. So it was very easy to understand and use. The guided tour that I had hoped for was in the blog that Calm publishes, but it wasn't in the app. Let's talk about habit building, the everyday experience of using it. Keep in mind, I've only used it a couple days, but I can already see how Calm encourages certain habits. The basic habit is a quick daily meditation, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that. And it's new every day, and the topic varies. So that's a big draw. Some activities like stretching, here's a morning stretch routine, naturally lend themselves to habits. This one you would do, of course, in the morning, every morning. And other activities have built-in repetition and tracking. One feature I really like is a very simple one. How are you feeling right now? Click one of these icons to say your emotional statement follows this up. You can add some tags, you can make a note, and then it tracks you. You can see how your mood has changed over time. That's interesting. Calm has notifications that you can turn on to remind you, for instance, to check in on your feelings at 10 o'clock at night. It even suggests that's a good time to check in. Notifications are always tricky. If you get too many of them, that's a common complaint. They get really annoying, but if you don't have them at all, you might forget to do the activity. I haven't used it very long, but what I've seen so far of progression tracking is very weak. It tells me I have a one-day streak. That information is way buried, and streaks are good for developing a habit. The problem is they're not tied to what I care about, just a clock. And finally, there's Mastery. I didn't see a whole lot of Mastery features, but I did see a couple, so I want to describe those. Expert, if you're an expert, you don't really want all the beginning stuff. You don't need to know how to meditate. And furthermore, during the meditation, you don't need a lot of instruction. So there is a category of meditations called less guidance that give you less instruction. That's clearly an expert feature. And they also have master classes that teach mindfulness concepts. These are not meditation sessions. These are actually small classes by experts in the field. Anybody who's really into this stuff will really appreciate this feature. So in summary, let's talk about what's good and what's bad. What it does well, it has a really clear, familiar mental model. I understood immediately how to use it. It addresses common needs. All the modules are built around things where I say, oh yeah, I could use that, like how to prepare for an event or get less anxious, or things attached to times of day like bedtime stories or morning stretches. The most distinctive feature is the fantastic content that's tied to celebrities or experts in the field. That's a really standout feature. And finally, overall, what Calm does is take a practice that for many people, it sounds like maybe it's from Eastern mysticism and makes it approachable for a modern audience. And that's, by the way, also what Headspace does very well, their main competitor. What it does not so well, what I saw was weak onboarding. I was anxious. Where do I start? What do I do next? What's available? It didn't do a good job there. It was also weak on progression. Am I making progress is the big question. It doesn't really seem to help me a whole lot on. I didn't see a lot in terms of larger time scales. I saw some 7-day challenges and 30-day challenges in meditation. That's a good start, but I think there could be more. And finally, I didn't see a whole lot on community support. Healthcare apps often enlist the community and your friends to support each other. Didn't see a lot there. So my recommendations, definitely make it easier for new users to know what to do and how to get the most value out of the app. Progression, make it easier for people to see their progress over time and say, oh yeah, I'm doing well at this, and keep you motivated to maintain your habit. Tremendously important for the intent of the app, but of course for retention as well, because it is a subscription app. Put in place some mechanisms for community support so your friends can support you. Fitbit or Happify have community features. And finally, keep doubling down on your best feature, which is enlisting public personalities. I know some people are really hooked on the stories and look forward to hearing more of them. Keep doing that. So that was my Mastery Path Teardown of Calm. Now, I did that teardown in just a few days, so I'm sure I missed some things. But it's amazing how much that format helps you see the patterns in the experience. But this format really changed how I look at game design. Here's what I learned. The first lesson is to do competitive analysis at the beginning of a project. Look at your competitors, play the space. Now that's an old lesson, I've done it before, but the typical analysis just involves looking at the features or the details of the gameplay. Using the Mastery Path Teardown format helps me understand the entire experience over time from beginning to end. The second lesson for me as a game designer is to think about the entire arc of the player's experience up front. That gives me a context in which to design the parts of the experience. And the last lesson, and it's an important one, is to start your design by focusing on the core loop, the daily experience, what the player does, and what brings them back. I'm currently designing a math education service for kids, and I know that when I get to game design, I'm going to think about that core experience right at the beginning. If you'd like to do your own Mastery Path Teardown for your own project, download our Mastery Path Teardown cheat sheet. Go to gamethinking.io/teardown and download your copy now.